The desert sun had not yet begun to bleed over the horizon of the Persian Gulf on the morning of September 17, 2025, leaving the world in a state of suspended, pre-dawn darkness. But in the war rooms of Tel Aviv and Doha, the night was already alive with a terrifying, digital ferocity. A silent battle of algorithms and intercepts where the fate of nations was being decided not by soldiers in trenches, but by analysts staring into screens, a shadow war that served as the overture to the devastating symphony of violence that was about to be unleashed, a retaliation so swift, so precise, and so breathtakingly audacious that it would stun the international community and redefine the boundaries of modern conflict. For Israel, humiliated and enraged by Qatar's direct missile assault on its homeland, was not content with a proportional response. It sought to deliver a decapitating blow that would permanently cripple the Qatari threat, and to do that, it aimed its fury not at the gleaming skyscrapers of Doha's West Bay, but at the deep, hidden, and fiercely protected secret that lay beneath the sands of the Qatari desert, a sprawling, multi-level subterranean network of command bunkers and strategic facilities, a city buried deep beneath the earth, designed to protect the nation's leadership and ensure the continuity of government in the event of an apocalyptic attack. A facility whose existence was the worst-kept secret in the Middle East, but whose exact location and vulnerabilities were a mystery that had consumed Israeli intelligence for over a decade, a mystery that was finally solved in the chaotic aftermath of the Qatari missile strike, when a combination of signals intelligence from U.S. satellites, human intelligence from a Mossad asset placed deep within the Qatari internal security apparatus, and cyber intelligence gleaned from a devastatingly effective hack of a South Korean engineering firm that had helped design the ventilation systems years prior, all converged to provide the Israeli General Staff with a complete, three-dimensional digital map of the entire complex, down to the last electrical conduit and blast door, revealing not just its location, but its one critical design flaw, a series of ventilation and emergency exit shafts, cleverly disguised amidst the rocky outcrops of the Umbab region, that provided a narrow but targetable pathway to deliver a catastrophic kill shot deep into the heart of the mountain. The planning for the strike, dubbed Operation Molten Lead, was a masterpiece of military audacity and technological innovation, relying on a force of 12 F-35 Adir stealth fighters. But these were not the same aircraft that had been damaged on the ground in the prior Qatari attack. These were replacements rushed into service and equipped with a new, top-secret Israeli-developed weapon system known as the Jericho Drill, a massive, bunker-busting penetrator warhead paired with a rocket booster and a sophisticated guidance system that allowed it to be launched from a distance, fly a low-altitude trajectory to avoid radar, and then accelerate vertically in its final phase to punch through dozens of meters of reinforced concrete and detonate deep within a protected facility. A weapons system so new it had never been tested in combat, and whose success now rested on the shoulders of the young pilots of the Golden Eagle Squadron. The flight path was a logistical nightmare, requiring the formation to fly south over the Red Sea, executing a delicate and clandestine refueling operation with an Israeli Boeing 707 tanker aircraft in international airspace, before turning east and screaming across the narrowest point of Saudi Arabia, a desperate gamble that relied on a secret, tacit agreement with Riyadh, which, though publicly furious with Israel, was privately terrified of a powerful and emboldened Iran, and even more so of a Qatar with hypersonic missiles and a willingness to use them, leading the Saudi air defense forces to briefly and mysteriously, though blind, as the Israeli jets transited their airspace at ultra-low level, their presence never once appearing on any public radar track. As the fighters emerged over the dark waters of the Persian Gulf, they split into two elements: 6 aircraft providing high cover and electronic warfare support, activating powerful jammers that created a dome of electronic static over the entire Umbab region, blinding Qatari radar and severing all military and civilian communications in a wide radius, while the other 6, the strike element, descended to an altitude of just 50 feet above the waves, their movements now guided by an autonomous AI system that fused the preloaded digital map with real-time sensor data to navigate the final, deadly approach to the target area, a barren landscape of rock and sand that looked utterly innocuous but which concealed the nerve center of the Qatari military deep below. The launch sequence was initiated at 5:17 local time, a synchronized salvo that saw 12 Jericho drill missiles drop from the internal weapons bays of the F-35s, their rocket boosters igniting and propelling them forward on a pre-programmed course towards the disguised ventilation shafts. Their terminal guidance systems using a combination of LiDAR and geomagnetic mapping to distinguish the man-made structures from the natural rock with an accuracy of a few centimeters, a technological feat that represented the absolute pinnacle of Israeli military engineering. The resulting impacts were not the large, fiery explosions of a typical airstrike, but something far more sinister and geological. The missiles did not explode on the surface, but instead drilled into the ground, their tungsten alloy tips grinding through rock and rebar before detonating their main warheads deep inside the complex's central utility spine. The successive concussive blasts triggering a catastrophic chain reaction that ruptured primary power conduits, severed fiber optic communication trunks, and most devastatingly, compromised the complex's air filtration systems, allowing smoke and fire to spread through the pressurized tunnels and chambers, while the external explosions collapsed the carefully disguised shafts, sealing the primary entrances and exits under thousands of tons of rubble and trapping everyone inside in a dark, burning, and rapidly deoxygenating tomb. The Israeli fighters, their mission complete, did not linger for a battle damage assessment. They immediately executed a sharp turn to the north and pushed their throttles to full military power, racing for the safety of Israeli airspace as the first Qatari fighter scrambles began, their escape covered by a volley of decoy missiles and a final, powerful jamming burst that sent the remaining Qatari air defenses into complete disarray. The confirmation of the strike's success came not from satellite imagery, which initially showed only some disturbed sand and rock, but from the ensuing, total, and prolonged silence from the Qatari military command structure. For over 8 hours, no orders were issued, no communiques were released, and the country's leadership, believed to have been inside the complex at the time of the attack, was utterly absent from the airwaves, a vacuum of power that spoke more eloquently of the devastation than any picture ever could. The geopolitical aftershocks were instantaneous and seismic. The Arab world, though often privately critical of Qatar, united in public fury at this violation of a fellow state's sovereignty, with even Saudi Arabia and the UAE forced to issue blistering condemnations, while Iran immediately vowed to respond, putting its own forces on high alert and threatening to block the Strait of Hormuz, an act that would trigger a global energy crisis. Meanwhile, in Washington, the White House was thrown into a state of panic and fury, blindsided by an action from its closest ally that risked igniting a regional war and jeopardized the massive U.S. military presence at Al Udeid Air Base, leading to the most serious crisis in U.S.-Israel relations in history, with the American president reportedly refusing to take a call from the Israeli Prime Minister for over 12 hours. In the days that followed, as emergency crews fought to excavate the collapsed tunnels and the staggering human and strategic costs became apparent, the world was left to grapple with a terrifying new reality: that the rules of engagement had been irrevocably shattered, that no target was too deep, too secret, or too sacred, and that the Middle East had just been plunged into a new, darker, and more unpredictable chapter where the only certainty was that the response to this attack would be coming, and it would be unlike anything anyone had ever seen before.